At the end of World War II, Japan was devastated. Cities were in ruins, the economy was in collapse, and industry was nearly non-existent. In this difficult scenario, Masaru Ibuka, an electronics engineer, decided to take action. In 1945, he opened a small radio repair shop in a bombed-out building in Tokyo. Shortly afterward, Ibuka invited Akio Morita, a physicist and his wartime colleague, to join the project. The two shared the same vision to rebuild Japan through technology and innovation. Thus, on May 7, 1946, they founded a company called Tokyo Tsushin Kogyo Kabushiki Kaisha, or Tokyo Telecommunications Engineering Corporation, with just 20 employees and capital of 190,000 yen. In the early years, the company focused on developing innovative electronic technology for the civilian market. One of the first products was a voltmeter, a device used to measure electrical voltage. But the real goal was to create products that could be sold on a large scale to the public. The first major milestone came in 1950 with the launch of the Type G, Japan's first magnetic tape recorder. Lack of raw materials. After the war, it was difficult to find electronic components. Many had to be improvised or recycled. Limited technology. Japan had not yet mastered magnetic recording technology. Ibuka and his team studied American models and adapted them to Japanese reality. Market distrust. Japanese consumers were not accustomed to modern electronics. It was necessary to educate the public and create demand. Despite all these difficulties, the company stayed on course, thanks to persistence and a focus on innovation. During this period, Akio Morita was already thinking about international expansion. He had a mindset open to the global market, something unusual in Japan at the time. While Ibuka led engineering, Morita took care of strategy and business. The company also began testing the name Sony as a simpler, international, and easy-to-pronounce brand. But this name would only be officially adopted years later, in 1958. By 1950, the future Sony was still a small Japanese company trying to stand out in the domestic market, but it was already showing what would make it a global giant: vision, innovation, courage, and persistence. The launch of the Type G recorder was the first step toward decades of success and technological revolutions. After the success of the Type G recorder, Tokyo Tsushin Kogyo, which would later become Sony, began exploring new technologies. In 1952, Masaru Ibuka traveled to the United States and discovered the transistor, a revolutionary invention from Bell Labs. While in the US, it was used mainly for military equipment, but Ibuka had a bold idea to use transistors to create portable radios. In 1955, the company launched the TR-55, the first fully Japanese transistor radio. It was also the first product to use the Sony brand, though it was not yet the official company name. That same year, they launched the TR-72, which was hugely successful in Japan and other countries. Compact, modern, and high quality, it helped build the brand's reputation. In 1957, the company released the TR-63, the world's first truly pocket-sized transistor radio, which was a hit in the US, especially among young people. This boosted exports and established the company's image as a symbol of modern technology. Recognizing the importance of a global brand, Tokyo Tsushin Kogyo officially changed its name to Sony Corporation in 1958. The name came from Sonus, Latin for sound, and Sonny Boy, an American expression symbolizing youth and energy. In 1960, Sony created Sony Corporation of America, based in New York. It was a bold and unprecedented decision for a Japanese company at the time to enter the American market with a direct presence. That same year, it launched the TV 8301, the world's first transistorized portable TV, showing it wouldn't be limited to just audio. During the 1960s, Sony stood out for its constant innovation. In 1965, Sony launched the CV2000, the world's first home-use video cassette recorder. Although it was still expensive for the general public, it marked a significant milestone. In 1968, Sony introduced the Trinitron, a color TV technology with superior image quality. Trinitron became one of the company's greatest successes and earned Sony an Emmy Award for technology in 1973. These years marked Sony as a global reference in image and sound, with modern, reliable, and technologically advanced products. In the 1970s, Sony began organizing itself as a strong international group. In 1971, they created Sony Data Products, entering the market of data recording and reading equipment. By 1972, Sony had opened a factory in Europe, specifically in the United Kingdom. In 1973, Sony became the first Japanese company to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange. This was a historic milestone that showcased its global position. During this time, the company increased its investment in research and was preparing technologies that would change the world, including the Walkman, which would arrive shortly after. Between 1951 and 1975, Sony evolved from a radio manufacturer to an international electronics brand, pioneering various technologies. During this period, it built its reputation as a bold, creative company committed to innovation, values that still define the brand today. In 1976, Masaru Ibuka retired from the presidency of Sony, assuming an honorary role. Akio Morita then took over leadership with even more focus on revolutionary products and a younger audience. The major turning point came in 1979 with the launch of the Walkman TPS-L2, the first portable music player with headphones. The idea came from a personal request by Ibuka, who wanted to listen to music during plane trips. Morita believed people would love listening to music anywhere, and he was absolutely right. The Walkman was a massive success. It created a new way to consume music, changed the behavior of a generation, and solidified Sony as a leader in innovation. During the 1980s, Sony expanded aggressively, increasing its presence in several areas. In 1982, in partnership with Philips, Sony launched the CD, or compact disc, and the world's first CD player, the CDP-101. In 1983, Sony released Betamax, a video cassette format that was technically superior, but, it lost the format war to JVC's VHS. Then, in 1984, they launched the Discman, which was kind of like a Walkman for CDs. In 1988, Sony bought CBS Records, one of the largest record labels in the US, and founded Sony Music Entertainment. And in 1989, Sony acquired Columbia Pictures, fully entering the Hollywood film industry. These acquisitions reflected Morita's strategy: combine hardware and content. Sony now produced both the devices and the music and movies consumed on them. In the 1990s, Sony faced new challenges: competition from Korean companies in electronics and changes in how media was consumed. But it was also the decade in which the company created its most profitable product of all time. 1994 in Japan and 1995 worldwide marked the launch of the PlayStation, its first video game console. It was a global phenomenon with three-dimensional graphics, strong developer support, and millions of units sold. The PlayStation helped consolidate Sony Computer Entertainment, a gaming division that would become a key pillar of the company. From 1997 to 1999, Sony continued evolving with digital cameras, flat-screen TVs, and other products. However, it began facing more competition in the electronics market. By the end of the 1990s, Sony had become a complete technology and entertainment company with a global presence. It excelled in electronics, including TVs, audio systems, and cameras. In music, Sony Music was a major player. In cinema, Sony Pictures made its mark. And in the gaming world, PlayStation was a game changer. In the year 2000, Sony launched the PlayStation 2, which would go on to become the best-selling console in history. With this remarkable achievement, Sony entered the new millennium as one of the most admired and innovative brands on the planet. In 2001, Sony launched the PlayStation 2 worldwide. It quickly became the best-selling console in history, with over 155 million units sold. In 2003, Sony created Sony BMG, a merger between Sony Music and Bertelsmann. Then, in 2008, Sony bought Bertelsmann's share, becoming the sole owner of the label. Meanwhile, the electronics divisions began to lose ground to competitors like Samsung, LG, and Apple. Products such as TVs, cameras, and mobile phones from Sony faced declining sales. 2006 marked the launch of the PlayStation 3. Despite its powerful graphics, the high price and competition with the Xbox 360 hindered early sales. Sony also tried to compete with the iPod and iPhone, but without the same success. Its digital music platform, Sony Connect, well, it failed. The once leading TV division began posting constant losses. In 2011, the PlayStation Network was hacked, compromising the data of millions of users. It was a major security and public image crisis. In 2012, under the leadership of Kazuo Hirai, Sony reorganized its operations. The company decided to focus on three main areas: games, imaging, which includes cameras and sensors, and entertainment. By 2013, Sony launched the PlayStation 4. This new console saw great commercial success and garnered strong support from the gaming community. To streamline operations, Sony sold off unprofitable divisions like the VAIO laptop business. The company also scaled back its presence in the smartphone and TV markets. Sony also grew strongly in the image sensor market, supplying cameras for smartphones around the world, including Apple's iPhones. From 2001 to 2015, Sony experienced ups and downs. It struggled with competition in electronics but reinvented itself with the PS4, strengthened its role in music, film, and image sensors, and began recovering through a clearer and more efficient focus. 2016. Sony continued the success of the PlayStation 4, dominating the gaming market. The company released exclusive titles like Horizon Zero Dawn, expanding its fan base.
Check one, check.
In 2017, Sony Music stood out with major artists like Adele and Beyoncé, reaffirming its position as one of the largest record labels in the world. At the movies, Sony Pictures released Spider-Man: Homecoming and Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, both box office hits. In 2018, PlayStation 4 released highly anticipated games like God of War and Spider-Man, which received both critical and commercial acclaim. Sony's image sensor division grew even more, supplying cameras for popular smartphones by Apple and Samsung. In 2019, Sony sold its VAIO notebook division, focusing more on profitable areas. It also began to reduce its smartphone production, withdrawing from international markets and maintaining operations mainly in Japan. The company began preparing for the launch of the PlayStation 5, set for 2020. 2020, official launch of the PlayStation 5. Despite challenges caused by the pandemic and global chip shortages, the console was an immediate success, selling millions of units worldwide. Sony invested heavily in digital services like the PlayStation Network and PS Plus. In 2021, Sony expanded its digital offerings and launched the PlayStation VR 2, focusing on virtual reality for gaming. The image sensor division continued to grow, with applications in smartphones, autonomous cars, and drones. Sony Pictures released successful movies and series, solidifying its presence in streaming. In 2022, Sony announced the acquisition of game studio Bungie, creators of the Destiny franchise, further strengthening its portfolio of exclusive games. The company also invested in cloud gaming technology, aiming to compete with Microsoft and Google. In 2023, Sony entered a partnership with Honda to launch the Afeela electric car, focused on smart mobility and integrated technology. The company maintained its leadership in image sensors and digital entertainment. By 2025, Sony remains one of the world's largest companies in gaming, music, film, and technology, with a strong focus on innovation and the expansion of digital services. It continues to lead in entertainment and sensor technology, while looking to the future with investments in artificial intelligence and mobility. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell.